Hello, everyone. Lukasz here. Thank you for having me. Last presentation. My name is Lukasz Zelezny. I am running SEO.London. I have 20 years in the industry. I was working in various companies in London, as you can expect. And I'm glad to be here because during the weekend, I was on an amazing conference in Bulgaria. But unfortunately, due to the fact that there was a hurricane, I had to change the airport, and there was no much choice except of taking taxi and going 5 hours to Bucharest in Romania. So that was really nice experience. I could also try to choose Istanbul, but I think it was a bit more distance. But here I am with you guys. So let's crack on. Part one, data is everything. You probably heard that before, but I wanted to mention something that you may not be aware. That thing is called Keyword Hero. Keyword Hero is a system that is able to merge the data from Search Console, where you can see queries, aka keywords, with the data from Google Analytics, right now Google Analytics 4. And what that is giving you much deeper view beyond just organic traffic per URL, beyond not provided. This is the screen. I took this some time ago, probably right now, Black Friday, maybe it's cheaper. And that's how it can be presented when you will create additional profile. This one was taken from Google Analytics Universal, but of course it works very similar way with Google Analytics 4. And I had to cover the keywords, but you can see exactly or almost exactly, because unfortunately there is a form of estimation, but much, much more in terms of what keywords are delivering what traffic, and if that's a e-commerce website, so what keywords are delivering what revenue. As you can see in the last column, we have a revenue, and there is 2,000, 2,000, 11,000, and so on, and so on, and so on. So that would be my first advice for today. Try to consider Keyword Hero, register for a trial. Again, I'm not an affiliate, I'm doing this impartially, but I found myself and my clients really like this tool because it gives them much deeper view. Search Console, of course, is important. You can get their clicks, you can get their impressions, you can get their position and click-through rate, but things like behavioral aspects like bounce rate, pages per session, average session duration, revenue, they are only in Google Analytics. So worth to have this in the consideration. Part two, keyword research as part of customer journey. You see, whenever I'm starting my research, whenever I'm starting working with a new customer, I am going through the best performing website in the industry. For this example, we have drones, drones direct, drones send, drone deliver, drones, and so on and so on. The screenshot was taken from SEMrush, which is my go-to platform. Aside from many other tools I'm using, SEMrush is one of the main pillar. I'm a SEMrush boy since it was, I think, even in very early stage. So I'm using this from the beginning. And you can see number of keywords, and you can see this beautiful Venn diagram, which is showing where drones direct is ranking and other guys are ranking. And for this example, imagine that drones direct is our client. Let's imagine that we have hypothetical agency together today, and we're working to improve drones direct performance. We know very little about drones, so what we can do. But first, let me go into off-topic anecdote. You see, this is a guy who is playing golf, and that's pretty much all I know about golf. But when I was doing a similar exercise for golfing, then I found through looking at lots of different websites about equipment that is purchased by golfers, lots of keywords that multiple competitors are ranking. For example, what golf should I use? What is wedge in golf? What is SkyTrack? What is E6 Connect? What does a TrackMan cost? I didn't know what is TrackMan. I didn't know how much it cost, but I knew that this probably is something important for golfers. Why? Because here is 14 websites out of 30 I was looking, there is some search volume and there is non-zero cost per click. So people are bidding on this keyword. So yet another signal that we should include this keyword in our strategy, writing an article or writing a knowledge-based post, whatever. That will come later. But here we're talking about keywords. Now let's see the same about how. How much does Golf Simulator cost? 17 competitors are ranking on that specific keywords. Cost per click, non-zero, 590 search volume, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see that there are very specific keywords that for somebody like me who is an SEO may not immediately be something that resonates with me, that I know about. But when I'm looking through the whole industry, through the perspective of other websites, I can find this hidden gems. I can cherry pick these keywords and I can bring this to my client, and impress them that, wow, this guy is not a golfer, but he knows so much about golfer because he's looking at the data. The unigrams also are important, like the one words that repeat in various keywords, like golf. Of course, best for, that's quite generic, but the driver, irons, Calway. See, Calway, I just typed this in Google and boom, I know that Calway is definitely something related to golfing. This is a company that is doing this thingy. Or iron in golf, another thing, quite generic keyword and tailored at the same time to the golfing. So iron is a type of club used in sport golf, and so on and so on and so on. So looking at the industry through the perspective of other websites is very, very educational and give you 3 steps ahead immediately in the learning curve of the industry. So that's enough of the anecdote. Let's get back to the drones. So we have this drones direct, and let's say we want now to move forward. And you see these areas like here where I have a mouse, I hope you see this, or here when the bubbles representing other websites are overlapping, but the blue bubble is not there. That's our keywords where, for example, in this first example, drone deliver and drones villa are ranking simultaneously, and drones direct is not. And if we know that competitors are ranking simultaneously on given keywords and operating in the same industry, obviously, and we are not, maybe we should see what are these keywords, because maybe there are keywords that would immediately bring additional quality of traffic. Let's go into keywords, and this is the gap analysis outcome. It's like raw untapped data and bunch of keywords here, and we can see here that our potential client is not ranking. Everywhere are zeros. Then competitors are ranking somewhere, yeah, on position 16, on position 73, on position 33, and so on and so on. So I'm doing a bit of Excel magic, and I'm counting number of competitors that are ranking simultaneously. What is their average position and what is the priority? The priority is here a very important metric, is taking into consideration average position of competitors and their search volume and their cost per click of their keyword. Then I'm sorting this first by match and then by priority. And I immediately see here things like Holystone HS720, Holystone drone, Sheen HS720 drone. I know immediately that very likely my client is not selling this, our competitors are, so I should go and say, like, listen, maybe we should start to sell these drones, maybe we should start creating additional category, maybe start adding these products into our stock. And very often the reaction of the clients is like, oh my gosh, we had like conversation literally like last week about the same. However, of course, I'm using data here. And this methodology helped me even to do research in the languages that I don't know, like, or even like with the letters that I don't know, like Hebrew, Arabic, or Russian, or Bulgarian. No matter what language I'm using, as long as I know the competitors and where my website is ranking, I can bring a very valuable data. And this is how the bigger picture look like. And I wanted to give you a bit of heads up. Match how many competitors are ranking, average their average ranking, only the ranking one. So this is not a simple average function because we're excluding zeros. And priority is search volume divided by average ranking square plus search volume divided by average ranking square multiplied by cost per click. And let's find where the sweet spot. For example, Holy Stones and Iyashin. And take a look. This keyword's been flagged by SEMrush as transaction. So this is yet another signal that we should consider this if we would like to improve our e-commerce. This is that website, Drones Direct. And if you will, when I was preparing the slides, obviously, then in customer drones and anywhere else, I could not find Iyashin and Holy Stone drones. I could find the Mavic, Phantom, DJI, this kind of really popular one, but not the Holy Stone and Iyashin. And this is only one example. You can do the same with blog post. You can do the same with glossary. You can do the same with knowledge base, and so on, and so on, and so on. Part 3, internal links and user journey. First of all, why do we want internal links? Because of 6 reasons. They decrease bounce rate, they improve crawlability, they increase page per session engagement, they increase length of session, like time duration. They non-directly, but that 1, 2, 3, 4 improve rankings. And if you do this automatically, point 6, you will save a lot of time. Think for a moment about Wikipedia. Wikipedia is like every page is like full of internal links. No one is worry about this. Yeah, every time you have a word London, it will be linked to the London page. Every time you have a word Europe, it will be linked to the definition of Europe. And that's one of many things that makes Wikipedia so successful. For that reason, I'm using inlinks, inlinks.com, which is a system that allow me automatically to add pages, and with little JavaScript snippet, I can tag them and the links will be automatically generated. Of course, because I set a word automatically, you may have a little reservation, a little concern how good these links are. There is a way to control this, but if you have a 3,000 blog post, starting doing manual internal linking will be a hell. That will take lots of traffic, lots of time, and lots of resources. So tools like Inlinks can help a lot. And here is like, let's say on the bottom of this table, we have here Google My Business post, and I tag this as Google My Business call to action. So moving forward, we have here another example. What is cornerstone content? Meaning and definition. That was my article. And from that article, the system found 2 potential anchor texts linking to another page in SEO.London domain. Google does not use word count as ranking factor, and another one, freelance consulting, that was another page. And then we can see, we can flip that coin and we can see where are links to that page, what is cornerstone content and what are the anchor texts. And the anchor text like content and marketing avenues, content duplication, content and its links, content, and so on and so on. This anchor text been found on other pages which are in the source page column across SEO.London domain. So that way you can really, really improve your internal link structure, keep some form of consistency, and you will save tons of time. Moreover, the system is also injecting some schema markups, as you can see here. That's are actually FAQ. I know that FAQ has been semi-retired, partially retired, but the system is doing this for you, so there is no drama. I still think that it's better to have them than not to have them, even if they are not showing in SERPs most of the time. How does it look like? Here is an example, the piece of an article and the link. So you can see that it's not simply words, it's more diversified. And if you go to the HTML code, then you can see here all the links have class in links, and there is a link. Oh, there is a link, is internal, and this link is highlighted. And all these things you see within links are injected through JavaScript onload. So you will not find them in the CMS, you will only find them in links. Let's go to part 4, semantic optimization with Surfer SEO. This is what I really like to do. So choose the right keywords, right intent, decent search volume, already ranking relatively high, one per URL to cover as much as possible of your website. And I am building this kind of data studio, Looker Studio, which is taking data from Search Console. Why I'm doing this way? Mainly because I see much more. I can see here up to 1 million of keywords. So this is like Search Console, but much more deeper. I also am doing here, you can see on the charts, split, brand, non-brand keywords, and so on and so on. And here is a website which is about WordPress. For example, WordPress shortcodes. The system is already coloring this in green. Why? Because I have a rule that if the click-through rate is more than 10%, then it should be green. But I knew that this WordPress shortcodes been not yet first, so I can still do some optimization and push this a little up. Another example here, a keyword SEO audit London, and here is the page SEO audit on my domain SEO audit London. I was optimizing this. You can see initially we've been 6, the scoring was 88, and I was optimizing this to get better position. Surfer SEO is giving lots of advices here regarding title tag, meta description, but also about headers, about internal links, about wordings that can be used. You see, and I've been able in that example to cover as much as possible. But this, what you see here, is really cool semantic table of words which are semantically desired to be on that page about SEO Audit London. The way how it works, I can explain you this way. If you would write a page about holidays to Egypt, definitely words like pyramids or sphinx would probably appear or should appear on that page. Now, pyramids or Giza pyramids and Sphinx monument does not have anything inside about holidays to Egypt, but semantically they are relevant. The same like holidays in Paris and Eiffel Tower. Yeah, Eiffel Tower doesn't have anything inside about with the word Paris, but semantically it's very close and relevant. So that's are not words that you want to immediately ranking on. That's our words which working like a bit like a spices. You're just spicing up your page to make this page ranking better. And you can see here is a list of these terms that I had no use on that page. And the system is recommending to add few times. Of course, we will not be following exactly like 4 to 21. It's not about really this. You can treat this very briefly. It's almost like a flying spaghetti monster advice. Like I would rather like you not to. Except here is like I would really like you maybe to consider some of these keywords. So let's go deeper. You know this triangle, reverse triangle, keywords by intern. And it was always making me like giving headache a bit like, yeah. For me, the most important is what is in the bracket. Why, how, what, where, etc. People very often coming to Google and asking for a problem solution. How can I? What should we? What should I? Why is it? And so on and so on. And if you will focus on this, there is a lot of potential traffic. I did this kind of SEO search volume golden circle. where why is the smallest, bigger is what, and the biggest is how. You can imagine banking products. You rather would ask, how can I open bank account in Barclays or Wells Fargo, rather than why should I open? Why should I have credit card? Why is very philosophical. Why works when you're thinking, according to Simon Sinek, when you're thinking about your starting your own business. Why will people use your business? But when you are a customer, that completely flip inside out. How is your main, and then what? There was a very interesting case study done by AccuRanker, and how is the second most search like classifier. So how and then keyword right after login, because lots of people somehow searching like Facebook login in Google and press enter and then click. Let's say Amazon login and press, but how was right after. So start from how, and here is a couple of examples. BBC, out of 6 million keywords, 232,000 that were keywords with how, 154,000 what, and why only 22,400. Santander, a bank, there was 145,000 keywords overall, out of which 11,630 were how, 5,674 what, and why only 128. We're talking about Google rankings first 100 results. Wells Fargo, American bank. Take a look what they have in the featured snippets. How to cancel Wells Fargo account, how to send money to Wells Fargo, how to add person, and so on and so on and so on. The next example, what's my credit score? What's the routing number for Wells Fargo? And so on and so on and so on. And this is not just an accident that they are ranking. Lots of these keywords, what's my credit score is like, or what is an escrow account, or what is an escrow account in mortgage, they don't even contain Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo SEO team knows perfectly what they are doing. And you can see here, organic search, 22,000 keywords with what. And you typing this, what's my credit score? And when I was doing a screenshot of this, you see they were right below adverts. So in the featured snippet box, in the answer box, or position 0, people are naming this different way. And you see here, what is my credit score? And they have an article which is also potentially helping them to get some customers. Part 5, recap. First, track your organic keywords per track your organic traffic per keywords with Keyword Hero. Point 2, gap analysis is the most powerful way to learn where you are missing traffic. 3, use internal links like a boss. 4, go with organized semantic approach with Surfer SEO. And 5, if you want to learn about golf, start with gap analysis. That was me. Thank you very much. And yeah, let me connect with the studio.
Thank you, Lukasz. It was a really nice presentation, especially the SEO golden circle and the explanation of the difference between how, what, and why. It was really nice. And we have one question before we leave. And you mentioned about the internal links in Wikipedia.
Yes.
And the question is, how can we select the perfect words for internal linking in our blog posts?
I think the perfect words, the best is to go to Search Console and find what are the words that are triggering specific page, and then go and find this word or words on other pages and make these words linking to that page that you thinking in the first place. That's what I'm doing. Unfortunately, not with in links. Yeah, go on.
Like you show on the content one, right? Content
Exactly.
example.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the answer on the presentation. I think that's it, Lukasz. Thank you for joining us this year.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure, honor, and I'm very, very happy that I was able to return on time from my previous conference and be with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.